Hey guys, Dieter here, also known as RCD Butts. Today we're taking a look at the Scorpion Commander V, the V Series 130 amp ESC. It's the high voltage version of their ESC, and it's also got a switching BEC with some programmable outputs. You can do either 5.4 or 6.2 or 7.4 volts on that, depending on the servos that you have and what you want. So we're going to take a look at this, how to program it. There's a couple different ways that we can program it. We can do the good old IR programmer. That some of you guys may have Scorpion ESCs from the past, and you know how to use these. Pretty simple and straightforward. There's a couple different settings here. It's low voltage cutoff and the break and frequency and different kinds of setups. And in the manual there's different modes, so you pick the function that you want, and then the number of mode that corresponds to the function, press enter, and then you're good to go. But you have to make sure you have this infrared programmer on it so that you can do that. So that's one way of programming it. I've also got this USB link right here. So with this I can actually download a program from scorpionsystems.com or innovativedesigns.com, and you can grab it there and program it via USB, and it's kind of straightforward and simple that way. Both ways are straightforward and simple, and in this video we're going to show you how to do it both ways. We'll show you how to do it with the IR programmer, and we'll show you how to do it with the USB link. But we'll take a look at the ESC itself here for a minute. Very nice here. We've got 130 amp. You can put into a 50 volt, so you can handle your 12 cell input really easily. On the battery input, it actually comes with a connector here for your voltage. So if you want, you can have it power up just enough for the BEC, and then you can plug this in and you won't have your spark. If you've got something like a flybarless controller, a B-Stax or a V-bar that's going to pull lots of current, I wouldn't recommend running it this way. I would recommend just having it plugged in regularly and then just plug it in if you're using the BEC that's built in. And for this demonstration we'll show the 4035, the HK3 4035 560 kilovolt motor is what we'll be using, and we'll be putting it on our Fusion. Not that we'll be looking at the helicopter as much. Right here we have a little LED for letting you know kind of what's going on during the process of the programming. There's also this here, this little red one, which is the opto cable. It's the Scorpion opto cable. So this is if you have a V-bar. What you're going to have to do is plug this into it, and if you want to use the V-bar gov, there's certain settings for it. I'll show you that probably in a completely different video. We'll show you how to plug this into the V-bar. Right now I'm going to be putting this ESC onto a machine with a B-Stax, but I've got another one with a V-bar. So keep your eyes open for those videos. We'll show you how to plug this guy in and how to hook that up. But when you're using that, that's what the red cable's for, and it's also for this USB programmer if you decide that you want to get that and program it with your PC. There's also these two other cables. You'll see one of them has the 3 cables as usual, so that's going to be the one that's going to go into the throttle channel, and that's going to have the signal. This other one here just has the 2 wires going into it, so that's just an extra power. So this is for certain systems they'll be needing to pull quite a bit of current, and if you have just up to your 15 amps coming through just this one cable, then it's a little bit harder to freely move all of the electrons through this thin cable. So you've got a second cable, and then you've got basically 2 pathways for all the electrons to get through and power up your receiver and your system, so that you can get that full 15 amps of current through And so this second one would plug into, this first one is going to be plugging into the throttle, so then this second one would probably go into your aux2 or your battery. Actually, probably put it in your battery channel of your setup. It kind of depends on the setup that you're doing too. We'll show you a separate V-bar video, but right now I'm doing a standard receiver on a Beast-X, and it's just going to plug into the Spectrum receiver just the same way that it normally would. So I'll come back and show you the initial programming and how to get this guy set up. Okay, right now we are going to go over how to program this thing with a little infrared receiver and the little remote. So what you want to do is, like it says here in the manual, we're going to plug this servo cable with the 3 wires on it from the ESC into the little IR receiver, and we're going to make sure that the brown wire is facing up. If you have one of the old versions of the IR receiver, you may see that, like on this side, the brown wire is down, and try to line up the colors of the wires, but don't do that. Make sure that the brown wire is facing up. If this is the receiver that came with the newest V series, then chances are that you've got the newer version that has the brown wire on the top already as it is. So that's no problem. You just take this little servo cable here and make sure that the brown wire is facing up. You will see that the metal is exposed from the wires. Plug it in there, and essentially this thing is going to be your receiver. When you want to have the whole system forget that this is in here, you can basically bypass it by putting it in this PPM mode, and it just runs the signal straight out to the receiver or whatever your system is. But when you put it here in IRS mode, that is what's going to make sure you're in programming mode. So PPM is bypass, IRS is for programming. So if you're just doing the programming, you don't really have to plug this into your receiver or even use your transmitter at all. You can just make sure you have this plugged into your ESC, and you want to have your ESC plugged into your motor. Mine is out of a helicopter right now, so there's no risk of it spinning up and getting any blades going. But if you have a helicopter, if you're plugged into a motor that is in a helicopter, make sure you back it out, or take the pinion off, or take both of the blades off. Just make sure that whatever you do not let the helicopter spin up and spool up by itself and hit you while you're trying to do this. You just want to make sure, usually this thing is set up to be safe and to not have those kind of spool ups, but you never know what's going to happen. You want to make sure that you're being safe. You don't want to hurt yourself. So take care of safety and make sure that your motor is not going to engage a head that has blades on it. Okay? So the motor is going to be used to make the little beeping sounds that you need to get the programming done. You got the IR receiver on there. That's really all you need to do. Once you do that, you just plug a power supply here into the ESC. What's going to happen is once you connect the battery to it, it's going to beep 3 times, and the little LED here is going to flash red 3 times, and then it's going to make a little sound that lets you know that it's in programming mode. So I will just demonstrate that here real quick. Apply power to it. One, two, three. So by doing that, now you know it's in programming mode. Okay, so I'm going to unplug this, take it out, and explain exactly what is going on here with this little controller. So it shows here in the manual, we've got the function buttons, most of these here, and then we've got the little numeric values, and then the enter button. So if you look here, there's all sorts of different settings for the ESC. Well, we've got LVC, which is low voltage cutoff. We've got a PCT here, which is a program cut type, you know, the kind of voltage cut that you've got going. COP is a current overload protection. RO, you know, is the direction of the rotation. You can change that instead of swapping two of the wires on the motor if you choose. Brake, you know, MAT here is for motor acceleration time. Frequency, timing, you know, the model, the kind of airplane or helicopter mode, car or boat, soft start, P gain, I gain, and you know, other things down here like the auto rotation setting, and this here is the BEC voltage. So basically, you know, each of these function buttons corresponds to, here in the manual you'll see it shows all these different settings. What I like to do is I like to go through and highlight what I want. So for my 12 volt, you know, I can do, like, I can have it cut off, you know, at 40 volts, so it's about 3.33 volts per cell. You know, turn the brake off. I'll have it for an external governor if I want to do like use a V-bar gov, or you know, there's different airplane modes. The cut type, the acceleration time, you know, 15 seconds is probably going to be standard. COP, the protection. Some of these are disabled, like car and boat mode, and soft start. You know, I want it in heli mode with soft start, and adjustable throttle. Timing, you know, I'll probably do a 5% here. Different gain. You know, sometimes you're going to have to mess with different settings, especially if you're using the governor inside of the ESC. And you know, BEC voltage. So it's, you know, for example, I will show you here how to change the BEC voltage. See how, okay, BEC is this button right here, you know, where other things in here, the brake, BRK, corresponds with this BRK button up here, you know. So if I want to do, let's see, we'll just do an example of showing how to change the BEC voltage. So BEC voltage, we want that to be 7.4. So what I'd want to do is enter programming mode by turning it on. Once I'm in there, press this little button down here, and then press number 3, which is what I want. So number 3, and then press enter. And then it'll give you a little confirmation like doo-doo. So I will show you how to do that. Let's enter programming mode. Put our IR receiver into IRS, and we're going to apply power. We've got the motor plugged in and disengaged with any blades. 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we know we want that, so we're going to set the BEC voltage. We're going to aim at the IR receiver here. So go that. See that doo-doo? That's a confirmation. So what I pressed was this. So that's selecting the BEC voltage, 3, and then enter. So, and another thing, let's see, for example, if we want to do the low voltage cutoff. So I want my cutoff voltage to be 40 volts. You know, I've got, you know, it's a little over 50 full, so I've got a 12 cell system, so it'll be about 3.33 volts per cell. So 40 volts would correspond to, let's see, it'd be 400, you know, millivolt, or, you know, 400 would be what you would enter here. So I do the LVC button, 400, enter. So let's see, LVC 400, enter. And each time you press a button, you'll see, you know, how the lights, it shows that it's receiving, and it even flashes a little bit each time you press a button. So you want to point at the IR receiver, pick all the settings that you want here. For a helicopter, you know, you're probably going to want no brake. Governor, you know, it depends on the system you're using. PCT, probably do 50% maximum power. MAT, you know, some of these things will probably just leave default anyways, especially if you're using some of the Scorpion motors. But if you need to change your gain, you know, depending on your system, you might have to do that. Might have to change some of these other things. But these are all really a matter of personal preference. But all of these are built into select the function, pick the number, press enter, you'll get a confirmation. And that is how you program the Scorpion ESC with the IR remote and the IR receiver. Pretty simple, huh, guys? Okay, if you ever want to enter your ESC back into factory default, so it just comes with all the same settings that you had from the factory, if you're in IR receiver mode, all you have to do is press the pound 1 enter. So the pound button is down here in the bottom left corner. So pound 1 enter, and if you're in programming mode, that will change it back to the default settings, and everything you have will be same as it was from the factory. Okay, if you ever, you know, just want to reset the whole controller back to default mode, just the basic way to do it with the transmitter, you know, turn your transmitter on, make sure your servo is plugged into the receiver. Take your throttle stick, put it all the way up to the top, and then plug it in. It's kind of like with the throttle calibration that we did earlier, but you're going to leave it for 10 seconds. So after that beep, instead of going down to the bottom and finishing the throttle calibration, you just let it sit for 10 seconds. See? It makes that little confirmation sound. So that changes the settings back to default. And you do it that way. Okay, now in this section we're going to show you how to do the programming with the USB PC programmer. Make sure that you've downloaded the software and you've put it on your computer. Then what you're going to do is just plug this USB Commander V-Link sold separately. Plug that into your computer and it should download the drivers automatically and recognize it in the COM port. What this plugs into here is, see on the ESC there's this little red cable. It's also the one that you will plug the opto isolator cable if you're using a V-bar, and you've got that. But otherwise, you know, the red on red, line up the brown with the brown, make sure that the lines or the colors of the wires are the same, connect those, and then what you're going to do to set it up, once this is plugged into your receiver, you should see a little light on here and it's recognized. You plug it into the ESC, and once you plug the battery into the ESC, right here is when it will do its whole auto detect thing. So right now we'll go over to the program on the PC and show you what we're going to be doing. Alright, now that we're all set here on the Scorpion ESC programmer, we've got version 1.1 right here. You may have a different version, but that's okay. It shouldn't matter. What you want to do is to connect. You've got your USB plugged in. That's plugged into the ESC. It's not powered up yet. You want to go to auto detect. You can pick the COM port if you know exactly which one you want, but just pick auto detect here for this sample. And now we're going to plug power into the ESC. Once you plug in power, it should recognize it, reads all of the data from it. After it reads all the data, it will display the current settings here on the screen. So once you're set up and you've got all your settings showing here and you're connected to the ESC, you can come and pick from the drop down menus on these different settings. So like for the mode here, you can do airplane. For an airplane, external gov if you're doing like a V-bar governor and would rather use that, no governor for fixed endpoints, and governor if you want to use the internal ESC from this governor from the Scorpion ESC. No governor will make these gain settings go away. If you have the governor on there, then these come back. I'm going to keep these here for what I'm doing. You can set off your low voltage cutoff depending how many cells you want and what voltage you want it to cut off per cell. What you want it to do when it cuts off, just an LED warning, pulse, or 50%. I'm going to do 50% power. Keep the current protection on, voids the warranty if it's off. You can do auto timing here, or you can do 5% or 15 or whatever. 5% sounds like it's been recommended for the motors I've got. I've got a nice Scorpion motor here, so I'm going to go for that. Auto rotation bell out, basically how much delay before it goes back into a soft start mode if you apply power after a throttle hold. BEC voltage, you can pick the voltage output for the BEC. I'm doing 7.4 for my high voltage, and once you've got all the settings that you want in here, you just click right to ESC here. You'll hear the beeps and get a confirmation, and then once you get the confirmation you click OK and you're set to go. And after that, it's that easy. Your ESC is programmed and you're ready to go out and try it out.